Have you ever watched a review for a movie or a video game and thought, maybe I should give it a try? For me, that was the Angry Video Game Nerd's review of Silver Surfer for the NES. Gamers know about Silver Surfer for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's infamous for being challenging to a fault. It's so hard that James couldn't even finish the game. He made a video about it in 2007. 2007? It's been 14 years since I first saw this guy beat the shit out of Bugs Bunny? He outlived screw-attack in game trailers? Fuck, I feel old. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love me some Angry Nerd from time to time. I must have seen the Silver Surfer video at least 100 times, and curiosity got the better of me. Because I feel like when I watch someone review media, I get a bit curious to try it out myself. It's one thing to hear someone's opinion on something, and another to form your own opinion. And when James said,
"This is the grand champion of hard motherfucking games,"
you slap that shit on a box and it will sell 1 million copies in the first hour. Also, I know a thing or two about hard video games.
The fuck?
Silver Surfer, trademark, was released in 1990 and published by Arcadia Systems. I'm not familiar with them at all, so I had to do a little research. Turns out they were a venture of Mastertronic. Mastertronic was a software publisher who marketed the Sega Master System in the United Kingdom. Their success caught the attention of Virgin Entertainment, who later merged with them. Then Sega of Europe took over. While Mastertronic was doing fine for themselves, Arcadia Systems was deemed a huge failure because the higher-ups thought the Commodore Amiga home computers were capable of one-to-one ports of arcade games. Their games weren't very well received either. Arcadia failed so hard that they almost bankrupted Mastertronic. And as for sales numbers, I couldn't find a concrete source. It's even harder when the companies don't even exist anymore. You can get it for about $30 on eBay, so it's not too rare. Now look who did designs and coding for the game. Does that name look familiar? They went on to create a little game called Plock. I'm still waiting for that Nintendo 64 sequel, damn it! And being that this is a software creations game, a certain pair of brothers was hired to do the music. A soundtrack so badass it was pressed onto a vinyl. Hiring the Follin brothers to do music on these games was like hiring a Black Ops team to serve parking tickets. They're the only people I know who would be excited to do something like the Thomas the Tank Engine game. For real, I have that game and they do a one-to-one remake of the theme song on a fucking Super Nintendo. As for Silver Surfer, Tim and Geoff Follin are pushing the NES hardware to its knees. This isn't even hardware pushing, this is straight up sorcery. Have you seen the FamiTrackers for this? They're fucking mental. I read in an interview that they don't write their music to fit the game's aesthetic, which is probably why Plock and Silver Surfer don't sound like Plock, or Silver Surfer, or conventional video game music at all. There aren't many songs on here, but I've never gotten sick of any of them. Not a bad song in the entire soundtrack. Now I think it's time we talk about the game. The game starts with a cutscene between Galactus and Silver. Galactus tells the Surfer that he must retrieve the cosmic device to save their universe. The Magic Domain has this cosmic device that... they never explain what the device actually does. Let's check the manual. It will destroy the boundaries between our universe and that of the Magic Domain. Works for me. Also for you ladies out there, his bio says he's single. Each of the 5 bosses has a piece of the cosmic device that you need to recover. You get a level select similar to Mega Man or Thunder Force 3. You got the Skrull Emperor, Reptile, Firelord, Mephisto, and Possessor? I've seen a few of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and played some of the first Capcom games in my time, and right now my brain is screaming, "Who are you people?" Reptile is the easiest. Whether you want to fight him first and power up, or save him for last is up to you. I chose Reptile first. First level is not too bad. Lots of cheeps and lizards on jetpacks. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about the Silver Surfer or his powers. Supposedly in order to save his homeworld, Nornrad was forced to be the errand boy for Galactus, a being so powerful he devours entire planets. I know Silver has a portion of the power cosmic and can travel at the speed of light. Yet the developers decided the best enemies for a powerful, intangible galactic super being to fight are pumpkins, frogs, rubber ducks, and bedsheet ghosts. You're gonna learn that this game isn't very beginner friendly in the slightest. This game is infamous for being an extremely difficult game. I can think of at least 3 reasons for that. The scenery is very claustrophobic and the surfer is one giant hitbox. I'm getting those Zero Wing vibes again. You gotta finesse the surfer through these narrow spaces. They only get worse in the vertical sections. And yes, touching anything kills you. This is a thing that the nerd brings up in his video. But I can't hold Silver Surfer accountable for something that's a very common thing in shooters. Also, the one-hit deaths are common in a lot of shooters. I've learned that you can easily tell what's safe by shooting it. If your bullet passes it, so can you. You look at these patterns and try to convince me otherwise. Most enemies in shooters just move in simple, straightforward paths, but not in Silver Surfer. This isn't random either. They didn't just draw some squiggles and shapes for no reason. Sometimes they trick you, and you wind up flying into their path. Your speed is okay. It's not the problem though. Their speed is the problem. Enemies move way faster than you and they can be bullet sponges without power-ups. Which leads me to... dying strips you of your power-ups and bombs. Trying to power yourself up is a nightmare when those little red ships in every other shoot-em-up don't exist. They put them in certain enemies and trying to find which ones have power-ups is like finding a needle in a haystack. Some enemies may take up to 4 shots to take down. Sometimes the developers decide to screw with you and dangle power-ups in front of you. One of 2 things usually happens. The power-up disappears before you can grab it, or you get rushed by a ton of enemies. Sometimes both at once. It's hard enough to survive, let alone power up your ship. It's even harder when they move around like Philip J. Fry after his 100th cup of coffee. This, combined with the enemy speed, hitboxes, and the cramped areas, is what makes Silver Surfer challenging to a lot of people. Then you have to see this screen when you die. The level can't just restart, it has to take a second to point and laugh at you. If that wasn't bad enough, this game has checkpoints. And if you saw my Genesis video, you know that I hate checkpoints in shooters. You use the A button to shoot, which is stupid. And there's no auto-fire, which is also stupid. The B button changes the direction of your options. You can't shoot upwards in the horizontal sections, so take the high ground whenever. The select button is a bomb that clears the entire screen. And as for power-ups, B is bombs, S is speed, the gray balls are options, the silver S is an extra life, and F is for firepower. Collect 4 of them and you unlock this game's easy mode. So here's my opinion about the difficulty. It's tough when you have no power-ups, but with max power, the game is easy. Too easy actually. You can kill most of the enemies before they fire a shot. You can kill bosses in no time. And the only challenge is trying not to make a mistake by hitting a wall or getting shot by an enemy. Let's get back to Reptile. Now we get to talk about the vertical scrolling sections. The entire surfboard is a hitbox, and it is a massive hitbox. This isn't even a surfboard, it's a goddamn refrigerator. There are times where you think you're clear, then you try to shoot some enemies only to bump into the walls. You'll understand true pain and suffering once we get to Firelord, just you wait. Here, the trees camouflage the bullets, and these water backgrounds. It's worse here than it was in Veritex. After taking an Advil from the migraine this level will give you, shoot some turtles, then shoot their mom. I'm sorry, but this has always been weird to me. Instead of this level just ending after the boss dies, you still move for a few seconds. Then the level ends.
It makes no sense!
You'll encounter bosses in this game that are just tougher versions of enemies that you've killed 100 times before you got here. Taking one of the common enemies in this game and making it an end-level boss is beyond lazy. Most of the time it's just an enemy shooting you with other enemies flying into your path. They could be a problem without power-ups. But with power-ups, however, sometimes they didn't even bother to put a boss at the end of the level. And the final bosses at the end of each section have the exact same problem. After you kill this dinosaur that looks like it came from a children's coloring book, you get a piece of the cosmic device. 1 down, 5 to go. Next is the Scroll Emperor. Tons of cannons, tons of missiles. There's 2 cardinal rules you need to adhere to if you want to be good at Silver Surfer, for some reason. Rule number 1, never stop firing, ever. Get a turbo controller or a tube of Bengay. If you think having a turbo button is cheating, well, this game doesn't play fair and neither should you. Rule number 2, greed will get you killed. Some enemies aren't worth the trouble of getting yourself killed over. The cannons in this level will get the drop on you, so only kill what you need to and stay out of the line of fire. Stage 2 is nothing special except for the disappearing extra life. Dick move. And the orange bullets on an orange background, an even bigger dick move. And the final boss is a pushover. Did Mega Man X2 rip this game off? Well, it's about time we played Fire Lord. Fire Lord is a textbook example of what not to do as a games designer. This vertical section is painful. You remember that one time Homer tried to fit his car into a parking spot for compacts? You can't touch any of the white parts without dying. I assumed you were flying over this stuff, but no. You barely fit, and progression is a nightmare. And the enemies take like 4 hits each. Shoot this hand over here to get an extra life. It probably doesn't matter in the long run, just pretend that it does. Then there's the second section. This is that infamous level from the AVGN video.
Oh, you fucking pumpkin piece of shit!
Shouldn't these pumpkins be in Mephisto's haunted house? Why is a guy named Firelord attacking me with pumpkins? I don't fucking stay up here for an extra life. Then grab this option. Remember when I said the developers were assholes? They also try to kill me with this dripping face. It looks challenging, right? Hey, look everyone, it's that red pot. Sorry, but I gotta pay my respects to the nerd. Why is that even a hazard? I will say Firelord has one of the harder boss fights in the game. It's just tons of crap flying at you. It's really no different from the rest of the game. With power-ups, he's still a joke. Alright, let's go to the spooky castle of Mephisto. This is that level with the ghosts, the gargoyles, and I don't even know what these blue things are supposed to be. Every single enemy in this level should put your anxiety through the roof. Some of the craziest patterns are in these levels. You'll see tons of surprise eyeballs and skulls in level 2. You see all these skulls here. See how I'm flying to the side and not giving a shit? Excellent level design, guys. These hands are definitely the worst part. They have no pattern. They just come out whenever they feel like. It's like a Mexican standoff trying to pass these things. Sometimes I get lucky and pass through them with no problem. And sometimes I waste about 5 lives here. Then it's this bullshit. Alright, let's kill this asshole in a squad of killer moths. What the fuck? Yeah, the ones that stop tend to split up, so don't shoot them. Shoot everything else though. Intangible galactic super being, killed by moths. Last but not least, the excellence of execution. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. I don't remember Calgary Stampede having all this space and Greek shit everywhere. Look at those enemies over there. That's how traditional enemies and shooters are supposed to move. Not like this. Again, crazy patterns, bullets everywhere, and when it's all over, you get to play the worst vertical stage in the game. Worse than Firelord's by a landslide. This one is incredibly tight, there's dead ends in this level that are just beginner traps, and more surprise eyeballs. I remember the first time I made it all the way to the end, and then this gate closed on me and killed me. The Founding Fathers were right to secede from these people. Just kill this shield guy over here to get the next piece of your cosmic device. Why is he shooting semen? After you kill the 5 main guys, Galactus informs you that there is 1 piece remaining. If you're reading the manual, he doesn't give you a clue where the final piece is because he's kind of a colossal prick. Now he says it's in the magic domain and it's held by a guy I actually recognize. It's Mr. Sinister. He's that dude that Deadpool fucked up in that one game. I learned more about comic book characters from playing video games than actually reading comic books. Before I show you the final area, I want you to imagine what enemies lie ahead of you. What kind of terror would the magic domain befall upon you? How about blue lobsters, green top hats, cucumber slices, depression worms, bubbles, and skeleton ghosts? You know, when a skeleton dies and it becomes a ghost? I really should start a band and call it Skeleton Ghost. Having power-ups does help drastically if you know the area, but I'm gonna take an intentional death here for the sole purpose of showing you how batshit insane the magic domain can be. The magic domain has some of the worst enemy patterns in the entire game. It has this section where you pray to the RNG gods that you don't get hit, and the RNG god is a vengeful god. You are going to die. A lot. Because the magic domain is bullshit. It does lighten up for a bit for the last 2 levels, except for this one part.
Easy. Easy.
The final level isn't so bad. It spoils you with power-ups until the final boss. It's not Mr. Sinister. It's this naked purple mudman with a handgun. Software Creations loves to disappoint you with his final bosses. His shots aren't too hard to dodge, and he can't hit you from behind. He also takes a quadrillion bullets to kill.
Quadrillions is a fake number.
No, it's not. It's 1,000 billion.
Really?
It's 1,000 trillion, you albino fuck. Okay, this is starting to get boring. Let's make this a little more interesting. Let's have a race. Can I beat this mudman before Dean Takahashi can figure out that one jump in the Cuphead tutorial? Saved the universe from destruction. Collected all the pieces to something that I don't even know what it is. As a herald I served you well, Galactus. Yet I feel nothing but emptiness. Why? Probably because I wasted my time playing one of the dumbest shooters ever made. Oversized hitboxes, cute enemies, pushover bosses, dickish enemy and item placement, and some pretty kick-ass music. Decent graphics too. And while we're at it, why does pressing the start button pause the demo? I hit start because I want the demo to end. In what universe would I want to pause the fuck? Also, this demo goes on for an absurd amount of time. I didn't even bother to check how long the demo was, but I did get some pretty decent footage for this video out of it. Once it's over, Silver decides to hide the cosmic device from Galactus. Because the man eats planets, why would you trust him with the galaxy-breaking device? Oh, and just look at these credits. That's it. This is back in the day when video games could be made by 7 people. But just in case you were wondering, Kevin Edwards has been working on games since Atomic Protector in 1983. He also did compression techniques for Plock alongside Steve Ruddy, and was a designer for Red Dead Redemption 2. Paul Murray did game engine work for Dave Mirra's freestyle BMX games, and Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Neil Sutton did bitmaps for that Bram Stoker's Dracula game on the Sega CD. You know, the one where Keanu punches bats? The most surprising one is probably Craig Houston. He went on to be a designer and lead writer for the Call of Duty Black Ops games. Anthony Anderson, not the guy from Kangaroo Jack unfortunately, did art and track design for the Wipeout games. The futuristic racing game, not that crappy game show one. Geoff Follin quit the games industry due to a lack of interest, and Tim quit in 2005. Years later, Tim Follin would go on to create a Kickstarter-funded game called Contradiction: Spot the Liar in 2015. It's a murder mystery game that I might check out one of these days. Tim and Geoff also happen to be YouTubers as well. I almost forgot about Graham Devine and Rob Landeros. Their names didn't show up in the credits. Devine worked on The Seventh Guest with Landeros. Devine has also worked on a ton of video games including Quake 3, Doom 3, and Halo Wars, including the Definitive Edition, just to name a few. Brian Williams has done everything from graphics to sound to even QA testing. And last but not least, Lisa Marcinko for the manual. I think that pretty much wraps it up for... Wait, this game has passwords? So to access this you need to press up on both controllers, and it takes you to a password screen. You can select levels, infinite continues... Wait, there's a second quest? There's a third quest? It's nothing special. It's just enemies with more hit points because the game wasn't hard enough apparently. There's no secret ending or anything special unlocked by beating the third quest, which makes it kind of a waste of time. And I don't think I need to play through this game a second time or even a third time. Let's be honest for a second. I don't think Silver Surfer is as hard as most people, or the angry nerd claim it is.
This is the grand champion of hard motherfucking games.
Only a man who's never played Ikaruga would say this. This is an NES game after all. Of course it's going to be challenging. Things may go smoother for you if you have more experience with shoot-em-ups. I played R-Type, Truxton, and Dodonpachi before, and those games are leagues above Silver Surfer in difficulty. I played Zero Wing on normal, and it was kicking my ass way harder than Silver Surfer did. Don't even get me started on bullet hell. There are tons of shooters out there that I think make Silver Surfer look like Weenie Hut Juniors by comparison. The game does sucker punch you constantly though, and playing without power-ups is unforgiving at times. It is unfair, but it's not impossible. It's goofy as shit too. Maybe it's this game's way of insulting you, because when you get killed by a cute pumpkin, you probably make the same pose here. Sometimes I feel like it's a parody of shooters, and a parody of the Silver Surfer source material, like a Saturday morning version of what the Silver Surfer is supposed to be. Rubber ducks, for Christ's sake, but the idea of a game stomping my pride was enough to keep me playing to completion. With enough patience and some memorization, even a games journalist can beat Silver Surfer.
New Super Mario Bros. Wii is a tough game. Old school tough.
That game was made for 8-year-olds. Okay, maybe that's a bad example. Maybe I should show one of them playing a harder game. No, it's my fault for putting so much faith in them. It's not the hardest shooter ever, and it's definitely not the best shooter either. Play Thunder Force 4 instead.